All right, let's do it live on a First Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Merely Bo, the Great Z, the pens are out, the felt tips, boards are being done. You're good.
Oh, baby. Let's go. Game week. Good to be back in here. We're not midseason form yet, but we're going to get there.
We'll get there.
We're going to get there.
We'll get there. We shouldn't be. It's not midseason.
No, but you want to hit the ground. You want to hit the ground running and
week
have
one.
But week one, you want to be playing at a high level. It's an important week.
It's a critical week.
Very important.
Yeah, guys back in the building. We did get some good news. Let's get into this right away. Denzel Ward was at practice, so that's enormous news from a Browns perspective. We're hopeful that would be the case yesterday on the program. It is the case, so that is a big bonus right there.
Coach is up.
And now let's go to the podium, and here's Coach Stefanski.
To do it between
You're down
Sunday at 1 o'clock. So, but certainly excited about the opportunity. We got a great football team coming to our place. Excited to be at our place. I don't think I've been down there for an opener just yet. This is my first one. We've been on the road the last few years. So this is great to get in front of our fans in week one. We're looking forward to that. And then, like I mentioned, really good football team. It's some great players, some great coaches. I have a ton of respect for Zach and all his coaches and what they do there. So we'll have our hands full, as you know. It's a really good football team, offense, defense, and special teams. Obviously, defensively, they do a lot. I think Lou does an awesome job making life hard on an offense and does a nice job of mixing coverage in front and you name it. So good players at really every level of the defense. Offensively, a great quarterback with some very good skill guys that everybody knows can be dangerous when they get the ball in their hands. Irv Smith I was with, their tight end. I know first year for Irv. Some new players on the offensive line, brought in some really good players on the offensive line. So I know they fit well into what they're doing. And the special teams, Coach Simmons always does a really nice job having a sound attack with some, again, very good football players. So we know what's at stake. We know the challenge in front of us, and now the focus really goes to Wednesday and getting our work done here on Wednesday. But with that, I'll take any questions.
Kevin, Denzel back on the field today. What do you need to see out of him over the next couple of days as he progresses through the protocol for him to be cleared?
Yeah, like you said, Chris, progress through the protocol. It's as simple as that. Really make sure that he hits all the benchmarks, and we'll go from there. It's part of it, but first, it's part of it.
Kevin, you talked to Sean. What do you think his mindset is to see approaches week one?
Yeah, I think we've talked about Deshaun a lot since the spring. I don't think his mindset has changed one bit. He's a locked-in football player. I think eager to get out there on the field and get to work, but he's the same guy he was when we started in April.
Have you ever had to talk to Deshaun about not putting too much pressure on himself or trying to do too much as you guys get along?
I think you talk to the quarterback in particular about not doing too much in a given play and knowing when to ditch the ball and when to take care of yourself and those type of things. But he's played a lot of football in his career. He's played in a lot of big football games in his career, so not something that I worry about with Deshaun.
On the flip side of that, the numbers say he was throwing the ball away and holding it a little longer last year. How much does that have to do with the amount of time he missed before then?
Yeah, hard to even go back to last year. I would tell you just what he's done to date, the work he's put in. I feel really confident in that.
To learn about him, given that you've only seen you have the full install and everything. You've only seen him practice in some preseason settings.
What's one more time?
You know how much has been made of the rust. How can you know how much of that has come off when he hasn't played a full game yet?
Have to tune in, I guess. I don't know.
The Bengals went out and paid the most money they ever paid for a free agent in getting Orlando Brown. Yeah. Miles has torn them up before. What do you see?
That's a good offensive line, Tony. I think Orlando Brown's a really good player. As you know, he's really big. So he's a challenge to pass rush. Really, their offensive attack is the challenge. I think they do a really nice job schematically in what they do and what they ask the quarterback to do. Obviously, we know the quarterback can make every throw, can make plays on schedule, off schedule, you name it. But it's a very impressive offensive attack just in total.
The offensive attack, you had a three-headed monster, big accurate receiver, and Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. So much has been made of, we've talked a lot about Jim Schwartz's defense and tooling out. to have to face this in week one, just your thoughts on trying to slow them down.
Yeah, it's a challenge. Doesn't matter if it's week 1 or week 17. It's a challenge. Jim and the defensive staff, along with the players, understand that. You're going to go up against really good offenses in this league. You're going to go up against really good defenses in this league. It's you got to just be a little bit better for 60 minutes.
So Sean, I'm going to ask you about Nick Chubb.
Okay.
Is his? I don't want you to give away. You could give away secrets, but is his role changing with Deshaun at quarterback as opposed to some of the guys he's worked with in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you change Nick Chubb's role. Obviously, there's things that we'll do as an offense that are different this year, and that's no different than every season you go into. You have adjustments and you evolve a little bit in your run and pass game, so I think that may take place, but Nick is certainly still a very big part of our offense.
There's one quarterbacks that have the physical gifts that Joe has, but what separates him that puts him in that tier of quarterback that's just special?
Yeah, he's a good football player. Just going back to his coming out of college and playing in big games, playing big in big games, extremely accurate, very athletic, probably more athletic than some people think. He can really make plays with his feet, can make all the throws. Again, and I give him credit, I give their coaches credit. They've done a nice job in their attack and what they do. It makes life hard on the defense. They do a good job.
The Bengals with Burrow have been a very good team. We know that, and yet Browns are 5-1 against that team. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, you know this, Tony. I mean, every year stands on its own merit. Every game stands on its own merit. So anything that's happened before, good, bad, indifferent, really doesn't affect Sunday at 1.
That safety's for him, just the defense in general, just kind of beating this building.
Yeah, it's a good group in there. You talk about Juan, talk about Rodney, some pros, guys that have been there, have played in big games. I think you've seen Juan in practice and in games make plays on the football. I think he has very, very good ball skills. But it's when you have guys that have played in big games, I do think that gives your entire group a boost. I think your entire group can lean on that experience throughout the season, not just week 1. I mean, throughout the season.
We spoke to Sean today, and he said he wants to be even better than he was in 2020. Have you seen that out of him this offseason, and do you think he can get back that MVP type of play?
We've talked about this. I hope every player and every coach is trying to be a better version of their past, and that's certainly for Deshaun. That's for everybody. That's for myself. We can't ever rest on our laurels or try to be something from the past. It's 2023, so that's certainly a focus for him and for all of us. And that's just a message for this team. Just you have to constantly get better every single day.
Ready? Were you guys limiting him at all, just given he hasn't, he's coming off the big injury, he didn't play at all on the preseason?
Yeah, we'll see how he gets through this week. He's responded with everything that we've given him. So we'll have a plan going into these games, but really it's based on how he's doing, how he's feeling, that type of thing.
With him and Taki, I mean, just the fact those injuries that they went through and how tough that is on a player, that they are able to, come out here and feel good heading into this first week, the testament that is to them.
Yeah, I think you see that across the league, guys coming back from injury. They have a corner coming back from injury, similar injury. So these guys work really hard. I think you have to, it's a testament to their hard work. It's, credit to the medical staffs in these cases as well as getting your guys ready to roll. I don't think anybody likes to get hurt in this league, but the guys that respond and attack their rehab and are out there with their team in week 1 is always impressive for me to see.
The new cornerback, can he be expected to participate in the game?
Potentially. He's coming along nicely. He did a nice job really last week and this week in understanding what we do, so certainly can be part of this, yes.
Are he still on the right track?
Yes.
Your new kicker to go down and kick at the stadium?
He will, yes.
What are you most curious about heading into the game? Everything is so new. Is there a certain aspect of the offense of the team that you are most excited or curious to see?
There's really not specifically, Mary Kay. I think, again, we talk about this. Week 1 gets so much attention. and rightfully so. It's the only one. It's the one in front of you for a long time. But for everybody, for all 32 teams, it's a long season. You need to make sure that you really take it in a one play at a time type of mentality when you get into these first games, because there can be a desire to do everything, and we want to run this play, and we want to run this offense and this defense, and all those months of work, let's run everything. You really can't. There's just not enough plays. So that's over the course of the season. It really speaks to the evolution of your schemes. But I'd say that's the biggest thing that we've certainly messaged to our guys, is not giving our players too much, because it's one game.
Defensively, do you have to kind of think about that, just because there's so many new guys on defense?
Yeah, I mean, you do, and I think it's every week you think about that, Mary Kay, and that ultimately it's our jobs to give our players enough where they can go play fast. And I think if you give the players too much, it's obviously you get guys to think too much, and it's hard to think and play football. You have to be reacting.
Justin Hopkins historically has not had great success from 50 and beyond. Does that affect how you approach that? Or
I think it's every player, Jeff, in what they're capable of and what their history is, and then it's the day of the game. How's the wind? How's he hitting them in pregame? I think you take all of that into account, but we have a ton of confidence in Dustin.
A lot of focus on, obviously, Cincinnati's rightfully so on the Cincinnati passing game, but mixed in that running game. How do they utilize it, and how has it changed over the course of like last year?
Yeah, they've done a nice job, again, going back to evolving. They've done a nice job evolving their run game. Over the years, they're very, very efficient in their run game, very efficient. And a lot of that can be based on some of their RPOs and what they're doing in terms of reading the defense and taking what's there. But I think Mixon is a very, very big physical back and strong and can fight for the extra yards. He also has, as we've seen, he's got good speed. He can get out in the open field. So it's a very efficient and good run attack.
Change out their safeties this offseason. I know every year teams make changes, but do they, based on what you have seen and observed, do they look any different?
Well, you only see that a little bit of a preseason game, so it's not that you can make too much from those. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if that changes considerably what they do or doesn't change at all. We have our suspicions as you go into it, but like everybody else, you need to get in the game and see what their adjustments are. It's the first week. In every game, the opposing side is going to see something that they were not anticipating. That's just unscouted looks, and unscouted looks in the first game are usually the highest as they're going to be all season long.
Is Delvin able to be in meetings and walkthroughs and stuff?
Yes.
Kim, we talk a lot about concussions, but soft tissue injuries are the main reason guys miss games. Has there been a greater emphasis on that with you guys? I know you test their hamstrings and things like that.
Yeah, have you tried that Nord board, Tom? We'll get you on that after this. It's been a huge emphasis, and that's really, I'd say, it's both team-driven and league-driven. We've spent a lot of time as a league on soft tissue injuries, and a lot of really good information has been shared throughout the league. And what you're trying to do constantly is get ready for the season safely, but get ready to play football. And you can only get ready by practicing. So you do focus on that. And then internally we have a lot of information on our guys. I don't understand all of it, but there's smart people that do, and try to use all that information to our advantage.
Have you seen a bit of a decline in that even through training camp?
I haven't seen the number. I mean, we always do a deep dive once you get out. I don't know exactly where we are just yet. The league even does that for everybody, and we'll show you where you land throughout the league. Again, it's football. It's hard to predict injuries, although I know the league's trying to. But we're always trying to just get our work done as safely as we can.
Are there auditions taking place at return, or should we expect DPJ again forward?
Yeah, as you know, Tony, Donovan has done it for us, has done it at a high level. Same for Jerome. So those are options. We have other options. It's really going to be based on the game plan, based on what Bubba wants to do in that particular game.
Martin Emerson is a pretty quiet guy when we talk to him, but it seems like these kind of matchups bring out the best in him. Do you see that when he goes up against a guy like whoever you're going to put him against a passing attack like this?
Yeah, I think MJ had a good rookie season for us. I think you saw in some of those games, certainly rose to the occasion. When you get off the bus and you're a rookie corner, the opposing offense is going after you. That's just part of the business. So we'll see in this game how many opportunities he gets, but he's somebody that doesn't shy away from competition, and I do think he's got the right mindset when you talk about playing that position.
For 2 years, Felton seemed to be a very well-liked player here among the coaches because of everything he did.
Mm-hmm.
Did he have an invitation to come back, and are you surprised he did?
Yeah, I can't get into all the specifics of that. Obviously, wish Dimitrik well. I know he's down there, but great football player, great person. Okay, thank you, guys.
You're up. All right, there's Coach Stefanski from the podium. Coming up next, we'll react to what we heard right there. In addition to that, get you an injury update for today. The Browns back at practice. It is a game week. It is a first Friday. We are off and running. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And Bo here for my friends at Renew Home Exteriors. Does your home need a new roof? Replace your roof for the final time with Renew Home Exteriors. Replace once for life warranty. This month, with the purchase of a new roof, get free installation on a solar-powered attic fan to help take the load off your AC unit and keep your attic venting properly. This is a huge win for you. Save with no interest for 24 months, accepting all insurance claims. That's an important one. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products, superior service. Visit renewestimate.com for more on that. Well, you heard from Coach. Most noteworthy of that, good to hear Goodwin, full go. So that's nice.
Yes.
Nope.
That is a good thing. Yes, indeed it is. And obviously Denzel getting in the mix. I mean, you want to be at full strength. This is a very tough opponent. You want to be obviously at full strength in your secondary, and then to have somebody like Goodwin who has that speed component to test, some pretty inexperienced safeties and for that matter, pretty inexperienced corners of the Cincinnati Bengals, I think is a good thing. Yeah,
in terms of back to where we are from with Denzel back in the mix and with Goodwin back in the mix, I guess the one negative is we just didn't have a chance to practice with him much with Marquise. But, I mean, we saw what he was in minicamp, and that was a lot to like, obviously.
Right, and his speed, regardless of how many reps you've gotten or not, his speed must be respected by a defense.
Yeah.
So when he is out there, they will be cognizant of where he is, and if he's running a vertical route, he will get the attention of a safety. And that will either allow him to run by everybody for a big play, or it will create space for everybody else and make easier throws for Deshaun Watson. So I feel I'm pumped. You want to be at full strength. This is a team that this is an important game. It's an important game, and you're at full strength. You have some new faces, especially we talked about yesterday on the defense. 15 of the 27 are new starters. Across the board, mostly up front. You could have as many as 3 new starters up front. You got in the secondary, you've got 1 with Juan Thornhill. McLeod will play a lot, but this is a game you want to be at full strength for, and you want to be able to take it to these guys. And I feel like the Browns feel like they can. And that's, I think, going to be interesting.
That's the one anomaly the last few years, the last 3 years. What are we, 5-1 against Burrow?
Where Burrow, when he started, it is 1-4 against the Browns.
Okay, 1-4. So with Burrow as starting. So, I mean, you've had this success over this team that's been one of the flagship operations the last 2 years in the league. You've had this success against them. The other thing about it is and remember this mirrors a lot of some of the issues that they deal with early in seasons. It happened just last year to them with Burrow with the 4 picks against Pittsburgh in the opener, where he missed a lot of camp with the appendicitis. So, by the way, he's a go. So he's practicing today.
Of course.
And
never thought anything
else. I didn't think anything else once we got to like Thursday of last week. Once you got to that point and he was out there, then you felt like it was pretty good. But they were so vague with the injury reports around him for the whole month.
For sure.
That it felt like once he was out there throwing, he was going to be good. But he has not thrown regularly. That part is a fact. He's thrown regularly for about a week and a half is kind of the way that it goes. But obviously you will see him on Sunday. But the point being that they are not going to be at their best. And hopefully we're not either, but we're a lot closer to being at our best based on how healthy we are and the amount of work that our regulars have gotten together than they are.
I would think that is correct, and I think the Browns need that to be correct. They need to come out. We have had everybody working together on both sides of the ball. We have been very lucky that our camp was not marred by injuries to our starters. The guys that missed the most time in camp were Jalen Darden, who's on a practice squad with us now, Matthew Adams, who's a special teams guy, but who will, he'll play some special teams for us, I'm sure, in this opener. But that's really it.
Yeah.
I mean, you did not have people miss significant amounts of time. So they've all been out there together. They've been able to communicate together. They've been able to go through all of these drills. You had the sharpen week where it was ones against ones all week, and both sides, I think, looked very good and had opportunities to make plays and did. And so, yeah, you got to come out of here, hit the ground running. This is a very good team. It's a team that is used to being a team of consequence, certainly in the National Football League. And the last 2 years, like we said, Super Bowl, AFC Championship. They've been in the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row.
A lot of trendy pick this year to win it all. Feels a lot like the Bills, how the Bills were a year ago, how everybody's kind of riding them. I've seen several that had them have these guys bringing it home.
It feels to me like people are just overlooking their roster.
I think if you amend that to overlooking the back end of their defense, I think
I
think what people see is they see the money positions. It's quarterback, receiver, D end.
But their D end, it's good.
It's top half.
I mean, Sam Hubbard and Hendrickson combined for fewer sacks than Miles had.
Correct, but they're
fine.
They're fine. They're a little more than that. They're top half of the league.
Okay,
right?
sure, but
Yeah,
they're not
so
like
that's it.
They're not like the Eagles or the Niners.
Here's the thing, though, dude. Like, played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
with the ball to go win it.
Should have won it.
In the AFC Championship game, with the ball to go win it. Quarterback. Did that deal get done today? Did they have that?
No, not yet. Not
there was
that
a
I
lot
saw.
of talk. It
A lot
was
of
gonna
talk that
happen
it was going to
today,
get done
or
by
was
tomorrow.
Going to be because he hasn't had his availability yet. Burrow hasn't, or he hadn't when I left this afternoon. But there was thinking that he's going to be the highest paid player in the league, at least for a short term, once this deal is done. And it's just a belief in him and all the receivers and all of that. I mean, they're very good at the glamour positions.
They're great,
and they've done it. They've been clutch.
Yeah.
So
a good clutch kicker.
Yeah. So they check those boxes, and but for us, it's a monster game, man, because we all know the pressure of all of this, and I even sensed it in coach's availability. Like he's notoriously vague anyway.
Yeah.
But even more so, and then like kind of getting annoyed with all the Deshaun stuff. But look, I'm sure the people down there asking those questions are tired of writing about it. We've had to talk about it. Every conversation we've had this entire offseason has been all based on the caveat of Deshaun. Every conversation that is had nationally about this team, and many of them just haven't been had, quite frankly. We've talked about that. Like, they just choose not to talk about us.
Yep.
It just comes down to if Deshaun's great. Everything else checks. So, and the reality is there's nothing that he can say down there. There's nothing that you and I can say up here right now that's going to be a warm blanket on anybody who has doubts about what Deshaun Watson can be.
They got to watch.
He's going to show up on Sunday, and then we'll see. That's it. So that's why I think from our standpoint, this is a nervy fan base anyway, and probably rightfully so, based on the last couple of decades. But at the same time, you're not going to feel good about things until you see him play well Sunday. That's really it. And I go back to a presser he had. I mean, this was early in camp where he said, "We'll see in September." That's just kind of what it is.
I mean, people are acting like he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I mean, to me, that's just lunacy.
People are acting like some people, we talked about this yesterday, are thinking that what you got last year is what he is.
Even so,
that's what
we're
they're
a
saying.
Better team than we were at that point last year, and he still went 3-3.
No. What I'm saying,
including a game,
but it all comes down to
garbage.
That part of it, and that's the part that people are hanging to. Is the critics of Deshaun are saying that it's more likely now, and I don't. Again, this is not what I think. I think it's far more likely that he is what he was 2 years ago, or rather than what he was in 6 games. But the people are hanging on to the 6 games, and they can't let it go. And anybody that has us ranked 22nd in a power ranking or him in a bottom half of the league at quarterback,
but I feel like they didn't
it's
watch
all predicated on. Well, no, they just look at the stats.
And even so, you would say, okay, well, he got better as it went on. 5 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in his last 6 quarters, plus a running touchdown. So 6 total touchdowns in his last 6 quarters. Like, I don't know. It's fine. And as I've talked to Deshaun about it a bunch of times. Like, people
He's
saying
sick of it.
People saying what they're going to say. He's not even sick of it. It's like people are going to say what they're going to say. The reality is going to be what happens out there on the field over the course of 17 games. I mean, you got people like, if Deshaun Watson is better than an average quarterback in the NFL, we're going to be a playoff team. If John Watson is elite, back to being like a top 5 quarterback in the league, we have a chance to win Super Bowl. I mean, it's all there. I think that people are discounting the quality of this roster overall in a major, major way, and it's fine. Like, let people doubt. It doesn't matter, because when people are saying, oh, you guys are going to go win Super Bowl, that doesn't matter either. All that matters is what happens, and that's what I've said for this season all along. Like, this is not we talk about it. It's our jobs to talk about this football team for 10 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. But, like, this is a team that's going to be judged on what it does. I don't need to sugarcoat anything. Our roster, I'm going through our boards right now. Our roster, top to bottom, is better than the Bengals roster. Like, and it's not even particularly close. Now, they've got Joe Burrow. They've got Jamar Chase. They have, if you were to disband these rosters and draft these teams, like just from these 2 teams, the first 2 picks are probably Burrow and Jamar Chase. And then you've got Miles. Those would be the consensus top 3. Yeah. But you're going to draft a lot more Browns early on in that than you're going to draft Bengals.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt.
Yeah.
So this team's got it all. They just got to go do it. They've got to go do it.
To answer your question, and I know that you asked it rhetorically, but so the audience understands. And you don't have to like it or not, but the reality is people don't watch every game.
No.
They can't because there's 100 games that you're trying to pay attention to.
We've had plenty of time this offseason to watch 6 games of Deshaun Watson if you want to comment on him.
Yeah, but you don't have to because you don't have to do that homework. You don't need to have that. You should.
We should.
You should, but you don't need to.
No.
And all that you're going to – I guarantee you this is what probably 80% of the people who believe whatever they want to believe about Watson, they see 58.2, they see 7 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's what they see.
Yeah.
So they look at that and they go, well, this maybe this is what he is. They don't see 70.2, 48-23, 33 and 7. Or the previous year, 67, 38-52, 26 and 12. Or the previous year, 68.3, 41-65, 26 and 9. They're not looking at that. They're looking at the last thing. And to me, it's far more likely that he will be what he was than what he was for 6 games, where he was gone for 3 months, paratrooped in to run an offense that wasn't even catered to his abilities and rather tried to do so on the fly.
Yes.
And hadn't played football in 18 months. So to me, it's far more likely he is what he was at age 25 than what he was in a sample size at age 27. You'll hear from Watson at 2 o'clock.
We've seen it. I've seen it in practice.
I know.
We've seen it.
We know that's hollow. We got to see it.
You got to see it in games, but I mean, he looks different, completely different than he did a year ago in practice. I mean, it's not even a question.
Yeah.
It's you got to go out there. And like I said, again, this team has got to go do it. You can have, you got on your offense alone, you've got 5 guys who have been to multiple Pro Bowls. 5 of them on your offense alone. Mm-hmm. Amari's been to 4. Deshaun's been to 3. Teller's been to 2. Batonio's been to 5. Nick Chubb's been to 4. That's just on your offense. Like, this team is incredibly talented.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to go do it.
Got to do it. Over the last 90 years, family-owned and operated Rumpke Waste Recycling has grown to become one of the largest waste and recycling companies in the country. Proud to be the recycler of choice for the city of Cleveland. Visit Rumpke.com to learn more on that. We will meet the Bengals coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of the Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. For a team of injury lawyers dedicated to every client every day, call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to meet the Bengals and head coach Zach Taylor, 33-31 and 33-38-1, entering his fifth year. The series record, the Bengals are 52 up, 47 down.
It's been pretty good the last 2 years to be at 38-1.
They went all in.
You got Joe Burrow.
And it landed them. Yeah. Bengals won the last meeting on December 11th in Cincinnati. And now we turn it over for the first time this year to Dr. Z and his boards.
Well, it's Wednesday. It's early, so we're not full. I've gotten some work on their defense already, though. But offensively, look, this is the team of Joe Burrow. Bottom line, that's what they are. This is a team that can throw the football as well as any team in the National Football League. Full stop. Boom. And we know that is a big part of what the NFL is in the year 2022. Burrow last year went to his first Pro Bowl, 68% completions, 4,475 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 100.8. He was sacked 41 times. They've made some moves on their offensive line. The biggest bring in four-time Pro Bowler left tackle Orlando Brown Jr., who was previously with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to them running the football, it's going to be the Joe Mixon show. Mixon last year, 814 yards, 7 touchdowns, but only 3.9 per carry. He also added 60 catches for 441 yards. Mixon feels a little bit like he's on the decline. There was talk about moving him out. They had to restructure his contract. He took a pay cut to stay. Samaje Perine is gone. Perine scored against us last year, scored 6 touchdowns for them, was very effective. So they've got Chase Brown, the rookie out of Illinois. They've got Chris Evans. But I think it's going to be a lot of Joe Mixon at running back for them this year. And then you get to the receiving core, and it's the best trio in the NFL. Jamar Chase last year in only 12 games, 87, 1,046, and 9. T. Higgins had 74, 1,029, and 7. And Tyler Boyd had 58, 762, and 5. So they're good. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to be effective. Their new tight end is Irv Smith Jr., who's formerly of the Minnesota Vikings. He replaces Hayden Hurst. Hurst last year, 52 catches, 414 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So it's an offense that can throw it. They have not been great running it of late, but Mixon is still a very talented dual threat back, and he's had some pretty good games against the Browns in the past.
Brown's the kid out of Illinois, right? Chase Brown?
Chase Brown.
Yeah, he's a hammer. Kind of a hammer kid. So Perine was more of a change of pace. So I wonder then what they will do in a pass-friendly, I suppose, Mixon.
Chris Evans can catch it a little bit, the guy out of Michigan, and they have Travion Williams on their roster as well. Travion Williams last year, very limited action for them. So we'll see. That's kind of one of the unknowns with Perine leaving. Perine had 95 carries, 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also caught 38 balls for 287 and 4 touchdowns. So Perine was a factor. That's production that will have to be replaced, and we'll see where that comes from ultimately. The big moves, as we mentioned on the line, bringing in Orlando Brown Jr., that was monstrous for them. And so we'll see, ultimately, if this line can be better. I mean, you look at one stat alone, and this isn't obviously the only thing that matters, but you look at one stat alone for the Browns and Joe Burrow. When the Browns sack Joe Burrow twice, he loses. If the Browns only sack him once, so far, or fewer times, that's only happened once, he's won. So it's a team that's running back 4/5 of that line.
So Jonah moved to left.
Jonah's moved to right tackle. And he struggled last year.
Bigly.
Jonah Williams, he gave up 12 sacks. He gave up 43 pressures. Struggled.
It was one of the. He's one of the. That's one of the things that they are very loyal to their drafted guys, and they will ride it a long time. And he's probably a recent good example of that. They did that with Billy Price, the former Buckeye center, as well, where they kept trying to make that work.
Yeah.
And they finally just couldn't. On the defense, it's pretty good up front, and then it gets and the front line linebackers, but some questions beyond that.
Yeah, so you got up front, you got Trey Hendrickson, 2-time Pro Bowler at one end. He had last year 8 sacks, 62 pressures, but 42 sacks for his career, 35.5 the last 3 seasons. So last year was a down year in terms of sacks, but his pressures were still elite, over 60. The other side, Sam Hubbard, the team captain, he had 6.5 sacks last year. He had 1.5 sacks in the 2 games against the Browns. Hendrickson only had a half. For his career, 30.5 sacks for Sam Hubbard. So they are good. Trey Hendrickson would be an upper echelon pass rusher. In the middle, 2 very solid rather unspectacular but solid defensive tackles. DJ Reader and BJ Hill last year. BJ Hill 3 sacks, 34 pressures, third on the team, so very disruptive inside. In his 80-game career, he has 16 sacks. DJ Reader on the other side, not much of a sack guy, but is a tough man to move in the middle, 6'3", 335 pounds. For his career, 8 sacks, but 21 tackles for loss. He's a load, and he's difficult to run against. One of the better run-defending defensive tackles in the NFL. So that's what you got up front. Kind of behind them, Joseph Osai had 3.5 sacks last year. We'll see if he's able to go, battling an ankle injury. Cam Sample had 2 sacks for him last year. Then they used their first-round pick on Miles Murphy out of Clemson, who had 17.5 sacks, 37 tackles for loss at Clemson, was a 2-time second-team All-ACC performer, but have not heard much about him and trying to research him nothing coming out of camp about Miles Murphy.
You had asked me in the break about him, and I have to talk about these guys a little bit on what I do in the morning, and I've talked about them a lot, and we've talked to a lot of people down there, and I've never even heard it. His name has not come up.
And he's our
first-round pick. But they did that with Hill. They kind of have a red shirt almost approach, which is crazy, but I don't know.
It's a nice luxury to have.
Nice if you can do it. All
right,
so anyway, that's where you are up front.
Linebackers, not deep, but their starters are both very good. Jermaine Pratt last year, career-high 99 tackles, 10 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and a sack. Next to him is Logan Wilson, who's just signed a 4-year extension that'll keep him with the Bengals through 2027. He had a team-high 123 tackles, which is the most by a Bengal since Vontaze Burfict had 170 tackles in 2013.
Jeez.
I
remember him in the draft, though.
That was a tough hombre.
I remember, yes, that was. And I remember Logan Wilson in the draft process. And
we liked him.
Really liked him, yeah.
Yeah, because he's good in coverage. Last year he had the 123 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, only 1 interception, 4 passes defense. For his career, though, 256 tackles in 3 seasons, 7 picks. 7 picks. Those are the most by any linebacker in the NFL since he came into the league in 2020. Behind them, nothing. Akeem Davis-Gaither, in his entering his 4th season, has 89 tackles for his career. Marcus Bailey, in 43 games, has 50 tackles for his career. Joe Bacci, for his career, has 33 tackles. The 3 guys behind them play special teams, and Davis-Gaither, you'll recall, is the guy who came in at that goal line, and James Hudson came and literally obliterated him.
Mm-hmm.
So not deep, but the 2 starters are good, and then they live in the nickel because they've got a very good one. Mike Hilton named a team captain. He's going to be their nickel back. It's interesting. Remember when he came to Cincinnati, he was talking about what a great blitzer he was. He had 9.5 sacks in his career with Pittsburgh. He doesn't have a single sack as a member of the Bengals. Not one. 2 seasons, no sacks. The 2 years before, in 2020, the year before, he had 3 with the Steelers in 2020. But in 2021, no sacks. But still, good player last year. He had a pick, 6 passes defensed, good in coverage, 86 grading when targeted. And then on the outside, corners. I feel like their entire secondary is questionable. You got Chidobe Awuzie, who I like a lot, former second-round pick of the Cowboys. Last year in 8 games, he had no picks, 5 passes defense, but a 58 rate when targeted. Very good. But remember, he tore his ACL against us. That was in that Halloween game. Tore his ACL, out for the year. This will be his first game back, much less than a year removed from that. 10 months removed. That was Halloween.
Yeah.
So how is he in his first game action? Is there any rust? Does he trust his body? So that's a question on one side. The other side, you got Cam Taylor-Britt, their second-round pick last year. In 10 games, he made 9 starts, no picks, 6 passes defensed. When he was targeted, 61% completions, 109 rating. And in fact, in the 2 games against us, we targeted him 11 times. We had 10 completions for 154 yards.
Jeez.
So we had success against him. He's their other starter. Backing them up, you've got a 7th-round pick, DJ Ivey from the U. You've got DJ Turner, a couple of DJs. Their 2nd-round pick this year from Michigan, who ran a 4.26 40, was a second-team All-Big Ten, 1 interception last year. You've got Alan George, who's practice squad guy for most of the year, and that's it.
Very thin and very inexperienced, very unproven.
Yeah, and then let's go to the safety room. Safeties. Here are the 5 safeties on their roster. Dax Hill, last year's first-round pick, 31st overall. In 15 games, no picks, no passes, defense, 12 tackles, and gave 135 rating when targeted in coverage. This is his
red shirt. It's basically a red shirt.
First year as a starter, and he's replacing Jesse Bates, who's
crazy,
been elite.
Mm-hmm.
The other safety, was a free agent signing Nick Scott in his 5th season out of Penn State. He was a 7th-round pick of the Rams in 2019. Last year is the first year he ever started. 16 games, 2 interceptions, 5 passes defense, 83 tackles, 2 forced fumbles. He had the worst PFF coverage grade on the Rams in 2022 and was bottom 10 among all safeties in coverage grade. It was in the 40s. He's only a 1-year starter. He had 106 rating allowed when he was in coverage last year, and he's replacing Von Bell, who tied with Bates. They both had 4 interceptions. So they had 8 picks from their 2 starting safeties a year ago. They bring in 2 guys who have no career interceptions. Or 2 career interceptions, I'm sorry, in Scott and Dax Hill. Behind them, you have their 3rd-round pick, Jordan Battle, out of Alabama. You've got Michael Thomas, who's just a special teams player, and you have Tyson Anderson, a 5th-round pick out of Toledo last year, who did not play a snap in 2022.
Yeah, it's wild.
So
they're betting big.
They're betting big on staying 100% healthy, and that Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt take major steps forward, that Chidobe Awuzie comes back from injury and is who he was before, and that Nick Scott gets significantly better than what he was a year ago.
That's pretty wild. When the back end of this, the secondary especially,
it kind of blew my mind when I was going through it. And listen, if I'm the Browns, that's what I'm attacking. I am attacking these guys. I'm running, a lot of those kind of, the combination routes where you run a dig to try to get the safety to come up and then put a post in behind them, where you're running and making them communicate. 2 guys who come in and maybe they break out or they cross, they run deep crosses. I'm doing everything I can to try to confuse these guys who have not played a snap in an NFL game together yet.
It's an incredible bet on Lou Anarumo's defense.
I think he's really good.
They believe that's it. They just believe that he can get guys right, but it's thin.
Last year, they were the number 7 rush defense. They were 23rd against the pass. 23rd against the pass. 16th in total defense, but 5th in points per game.
Mm-hmm.
They were 29th in terms of sacks. They only had 30 on the season. They were on 3rd downs, they were 40%, which was 20th in the league. 4th down, they were very good, 4th in the league. Red zone, they were tied for 9th in the league. So they got stingy in the red zone. That's really what they did. And then the turnover margin, they were +6. You win the turnover margin, that's 6th in the NFL. That covers up a lot.
Yep.
So the question is going to be, can this back end hold up for them? Because while it is a good front, it's not like a jailbreak to the quarterback front.
No, it's not Philly. No.
It's not even what we should be, to be perfectly honest. But their offense, and listen, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, that covers a lot.
It does. Yeah.
That's a great eraser.
Yeah. We beat them here on Halloween. They didn't lose again until the AFC Championship game.
If you were talking to me with this team and we said everything that we said right there, and it was Bates and Von Bell right there, that feels like, okay, you still questions at corner, I think, are valid questions.
Yeah.
With Awuzie coming off the injury and, Taylor-Britt, and how did he progresses in year 2. But you put those, you feel like you have that comfortable shell on the back end with a guy who can play close to the line of scrimmage in Von Bell.
Bates
and then
is
you
a
have
stud.
Bates.
Bates was a stud.
Because a good center fielder cleans a lot of things up. And an experienced center fielder, or one who makes some mental mistakes, he's going to be thinking out there. He has not played a lot of football in the NFL. And when you think, that's when you can get run by, or you can make the wrong read, or that's what the Browns, that is where, if we are going to win this game, we're going to win it throwing the ball and getting on their safeties and their corners. And obviously Nick Chubb's going to be Nick Chubb. But that's, to me, you go through the rest of this roster and you're like, okay, Jonah Williams, Za'Darius
should clean up on that. Yeah.
But that's something we didn't have in the past.
No.
Because they can't go double on that side and maybe they'll leave Miles one-on-one with Orlando Brown, or you put Miles on this side and Za'Darius on the other, or you put them on the same side, put them against Kappa and Williams together. The Browns should be able to get after this line, but Burrow is excellent. We've done a good job, though. I was looking at the last 3 games against Browns. Burrow has not thrown for 300 yards in any of them. He's been under 250 in each of the last 2. 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, 0 games with a 100 rating. He's been sacked 11 times.
Well, he grew up a Browns fan. Maybe just in his heart of hearts. It's still there.
Still there. I mean,
they've done a great. It's one. We've had some good teams the last couple of years, but it's kind of an anomaly from a scheduling standpoint that he has success against everybody but us.
Well, and that's one of the things. If there was one thing that Joe Woods did well, it was prepare us to play the Cincinnati Bengals. So We hope Jim Schwartz obviously can continue that, and obviously a ton of belief in him as a defensive coordinator. But it feels like we have a defense that is built to stop a team like Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That's kind of what our defense is built to do, right? Get after the quarterback and be able to cover good receivers.
Well, I mean, I think you can probably even take it a step further and say that everything that you've tried to do here in a roster standpoint in the last 2 off seasons, has been because of what happened in Cincinnati quickly with Burrow. They are in your division. You ask anybody in any part of the league and you say, well, what's your number one goal? It's win the division, because that means you get in the playoffs. For us to win the division consistently over the next decade, we've got to beat that kid down there on the Ohio River. That's the job. And so everything that's been done, whether it's the trade for Deshaun Watson, because it just wasn't good enough the other way.
Yes.
It was never going to be. You had to be better. You had to be elite.
That's what forced a lot
in
of
the
that.
pass game.
That
It forced it because
Yep.
otherwise, if you look at what Baltimore is, and you want to talk about, I mean, you and I were talking off air, like overvalued. I think the Ravens are way overvalued. Even Pittsburgh coming to the end of Roethlisberger, it was the Burrow emergence and the Cincinnati with Chase and the rest of it. It's like, wow, you got to have an answer for that, because the job one is win the division. You can't take down Mahomes and the rest of it until you win your division. That's
Right.
job one. And so much of what's happened here has been an antidote or an attempted antidote to that, and we've had success against them. So it has worked.
Yes, we have, and we need to keep that success going. That is what the Bengals are, the team that you've got to go through. Now, we've beaten them here every time since 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 5 straight.
Yeah.
In our building. We need to make it 6 straight.
Yeah. Gots to do it. One of the men that will be responsible for that is your quarterback. He is at the podium coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And be sure to check out the new episodes of Dogs Only, a new player-led podcast. Watch and listen on the Browns YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. One of the men of the hour on Sunday will be Deshaun Watson. We can't wait to see him play. He was available earlier today to meet with the media. Let's have a listen.
Deshaun,
you're down.
To decide what team you wanted to be traded to, how much was Kevin a selling point in his ideas for the offense and ways to make you a better player?
It was huge. At that time, coming in, making a decision, I wanted to expand my offensive knowledge, something different. I think all the teams that I was, looking at had different offenses that I had in Houston. But Kevin, he came in and he was out of all the teams that I visit with, him and AB was the only ones that really pretty much talked about football and what they want to do and kind of incorporate me into the offense. And then you look at the skill guys that we're thinking about getting, all the moves that we've been making before is something that they already, told me, going into that whole process. So, I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of Kevin and what he's been building up here in Cleveland. And I think that we can be very successful.
How has that evolved with you and Kevin, the back and forth, trying to figure out what the best plays, the best offense for you? How has that evolved in the last 18 months or so?
It's growing. It's a growing process. It's a learning process. We continue to grow throughout the season. It's not finalized. I don't think it's ever finalized. If you talk to the great ones that played, with their coach or their OC for a very long time, I think each and every year there's something that you can evolve and take your offense to another level. So it's been great. It's been fun. It's been very exciting. And, I think he's excited about, going into this week one, and I am too.
As you look where you're at right now, and over the last month and a half, where do you feel like you've grown and progressed the most in that time?
Everything. Just me as a player, me as a leader, me as a quarterback, the knowledge of the offense, what Kevin is thinking, what AVP is thinking, how we want to attack different schemes on defense, and just everything. I'm never satisfied with how I was a month ago. I'm never satisfied how I was a week ago. So it's just continue to just grow and continue to learn and just be better each and every day.
Deshaun, in terms of optimism and excitement for a season and hope for great big things to happen, how does this season for you compare to any other that you've gone into?
Honestly, it's very similar. I think my time in Houston, we had some big, I say big goals and dreams that we want to do, and I think people realize that we can compete with some of the top teams, because the teams that we had in Houston, we had opportunities, but we didn't stay healthy a lot of times, and a lot of moving parts. So, of course, it didn't go our way, but I think this year is a fresh year, it's a new year, and it's a lot of newness to this offense and defense. So it's very exciting, not just for the fans and the media, but for ourselves too.
Deshaun, along those lines, your season opener was delayed last year because of what transpired last season. Does this one mean more to you?
Every game means a lot to me, not just because I missed the first half of the season last year and came back in. I think each and every game is an opportunity for myself to go out there and show who I am, and I have a lot to prove, and I want to go out there and prove it, not just for people in general, but just for myself, because that's the type of competitor I am, and I just want to go out there and be the best I can to help this team win.
Deshaun, you've talked about wanting to really hit the ground running, coming out, firing on all cylinders offensively. Just knowing where you're at, where the offense is, how confident are you, and how do you feel about the ability to achieve that, to really hit the ground running come Sunday and not having to spend a lot of time working things out, working through things?
I'm very confident, and I just really, to add on to that, is just all the work has been put in, so we're going to continue to put in the work until that first whistle and the ball is kicked off, and then we just got to go out there and just go play, and just put things together and execute. And I think that's the biggest thing. Go out there on the field and know that we put in the work, and we have the team and the players around and the coaching staff with the game plan to go out there and execute to try to win, for our Cleveland Browns.
Three of your games were against division teams last year, and does that give you better comfort now going into the full season against this division?
Yeah, the division is the division, but every year is a different year. So, we learn and we live how we watch the film and we live what happened last year. But at the same time, going into this year, we just got to focus on the task ahead. So, We get our division early on, and we got to go out there and compete because there's no slouches in this division, and these are three of the great teams in the AFC and the NFL. So we got to go out there and make sure we're ready to play.
Hey, Deshaun, when you get voted captain, first of all, what does that mean to you? And then Nick is the latest guy to talk about how much confidence he has in you. What does it mean to you when you hear your teammates talking to you?
Of course it means a lot, but that's my character. That's who I am. And all the things that they want to see is going to eventually show. The more time they're around me, like they've been the past year and a half, and the more we get on the field and work out and train in the off season, during the season, during training camp, all that stuff just kind of naturally come out. There's no point of me trying to force the issue or force who I am as a leader, as a captain. I appreciate the C being on the jersey and things like that, but even if I wasn't voted captain, I was still going to be the leader and continue to control what I can control and lead this team to hopefully a whole bunch of victories.
What stands out to you about the Bengals defense when you watch them on the field?
Effort, execution, guys that fly around, that's very smart. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and you got to beat them. You have to beat them. They don't give you a lot of easy throws or easy runs. You got to go earn it.
What has you feeling so much better about the offense and your role in it and the scheme and all of that stuff than maybe you did, even last year?
I'd just say time. Time and just reps is the biggest things that makes my confidence, a lot better than it was last year.
Sean, what do you appreciate about Joe Burrow's game?
I think it's the grit. I think it's the fight, the competitiveness, and just the swagger he got, and all those attributes. And I can keep going on and on, but he wanted the best in the game for a reason, and he's had all the success in the world because he works at it. I don't really know him as a person, but I just know him from afar and what other people say. And I think he's a great teammate, great player, and a great person to be around. So a lot of respect for Joe.
Deshaun, I know that Bengals
for this season.
Individually. My expectation for this season is to be the best player I can be. Be the best Deshaun Watson.
What do you make of the fact the Bengals have won the division 2 years in a row, and yet the Browns have played them really well? What do you make of that? I mean, does this team just match up well against the Bengals? Or?
I'm not sure. I guess that's just the way the NFL works. I'm not sure how to really answer that.
Hey, Deshaun, I know that Bengals secondary looks different than it did this time last year. I guess just as you prepared for this, what you've seen out of this particular group compared to last year.
It's a small sample size just because 2 new guys in the system in the secondary. I know Hill was there last year. He was a rookie, so he played in certain spots, a little bit of nickel. And then 29 played a little bit corner. He played against us last year. Very, very good player. And of course, Mike Hilton. So, I know it's a new secondary, but those guys are going to be flying around. They're going to be ready to play. They're going to be active, and we got to make sure that we match their energy. And we respect their defense. We respect their secondary, and no matter who they put out there, we got to go out there and play.
Your two games last year were late in the year. The weather wasn't great. I don't think they had full houses. So what do you expect from the atmosphere Sunday for the home opener when all the fans have all that excitement?
I expect nothing but great, positive, fun, loud energy. And that's one of the reasons why I chose Cleveland is the fan base. I want that feeling how you used to feel, that college atmosphere. The fans are up, they're loud, they're cheering on the offense, they're cheering on the defense, the special teams. When guys make big plays, we're getting the energy going in the stadium. And, a lot of people, especially as players, we feed off the fans, and the fans feed off us. So if we can match those two, I think we can have a lot of success.
Sean, going into this season, there's so many expectations for this team, and also for you as a player. So for you to return to that guy we saw in Houston that could just take over games, what has to happen for you?
Just be me. And, I don't want to return as a guy at Houston. I want to be better than that guy. So what I was, 2023, 3 years ago, I'm not the same guy. So I feel like I've improved, I've evolved to a new level, and I'm ready to be able to show that. Last year was a tricky time where, I was learning everything, but, I don't want to just get caught up on, hey, Houston this, Houston that. I had a lot of fun, a lot of success in Houston, but I want to have that success and start something new in Cleveland.
So a lot of people say, can you get back to the level you were at in 2020, 2019? You're saying You want to be better at even that level.
Of course, and I know I can be.
Those Houston teams that won the division were good teams. Is this team better, do you think?
I'm not going to match the teams. We had some great teams. There's a lot of success in Houston. I have fun in Houston with the guys I play with and the coaching staff I have. This team is the new 2023 Cleveland Browns, and we're ready to take the field, and we'll figure out, towards the end of the year how we are.
A couple more. How do you feel about how excited are you, I should say, to run the no huddle and the RPOs and the design runs and empty backfields and all the things that you're going to get to do this season?
I'm just excited to go out there and play, and whatever Kevin calls, we go out there and execute and try to put a lot of points on the board and help this team out, help the defense out, and win a lot of games.
And you talk about, you guys want to win every game, I know, but can getting playing Johannes opener, can that set the tone for the season?
Of course. I mean, every opener is going to set the tone for the season. You want to ride, you want to go into the season with a victory, and that's what everyone is striving for. But every week is a new week, and it's a new opportunity, and a lot of things happen in the NFL, but we got to lock in and focus on this week, and that's what we've been focused on is September 10th at 1 o'clock in Cleveland Browns Stadium, and we want to go out there and go have fun.
When you talk about the offense producing fireworks, when you visualize that, what does it look like?
A lot of points and victory, and we're just out there having fun. That's all I can really speak on that.
Hey, Deshaun, can you
Last one here.
Can you relate to, what Joe must be going through, having to come into this opener against a defense like this, coming off of a calf strain, not having practiced for a month? You
30-30.
the fellow quarterback, do you sort of kind of relate to what he must be dealing with right now with that?
As far as not having a training camp, it depends though. I mean, every player is different. Some guys need training camp, some guys don't need training camp. I feel like it just depends on what they've been working on with him. But as far as going against our defense, I can't give out no tips and cues. That's crazy. So I just hope he's ready for sure. But it's Joe Burrow, so he's gonna be good.
Europe.
Going to be fun having these two go head-to-head for the next decade or so in the Battle of Ohio. Coming up next, we will go around the league. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans, Avocados from Peru will be at Stowe Meyer location 1 to 3 Friday, September 8th. Stop by to enter the Ultimate Football Sweepstakes for your chance to win a 2023 Ford Lightning electric truck. Play games, win prizes, meet Felix Wright. For more information, visit Cleveland Browns Facebook page, and you will find it there. As we go around the NFL here, we've got the big news, obviously, yesterday was Travis Kelce with the knee injury. He avoided serious knee injury. His brother actually broke down the injury this morning on radio in Philly.
What did he say?
He said he has swelling in his sprained knee, similar to what happened to Jason Kelce last year during the season while he was trying to kick a piece of wood in his yard to start a bonfire. At least his happened on the practice field. But if they could get the swelling down, he could be okay. I mean, let's think about this. Like that's in Philly. Jason Kelce's on. I'm pretty sure he's on every week. Brady used to be on every week in New England, in Boston.
And he did
Roethlisberger
on Monday night.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Roethlisberger would be on every Monday in Pittsburgh.
KDKA, I believe.
Yeah, like this in some places, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty remarkable the way that it all works. But these aren't like us. Like this is a sports talk radio show in Philly.
Yeah.
That has Jason Kelce on every week.
Every Tuesday you can hear from Jerry.
Yeah, well, Jarrah had the line of yesterday's availabilities with the trade where he says, I can do the Trey Lance trade in 5 minutes. I don't have to ask permission.
It's me.
I'm it.
Yeah.
I'm him.
Yeah.
He is truly him. They play tomorrow. If they were playing Sunday, I would think maybe he would give it a go, but I don't know what the point would be in Kelce playing in the opener tomorrow. If he can't do it,
he's structurally fine. It's just swelling.
Right, but if there's why wouldn't you just be extra precautious? He's like
I think he's going to miss.
I think he'll miss a week. He'll miss this.
Yeah, it'll be one game.
Well, and you get extra time to recover because you're playing Thursday night.
Right. Did you guys see Mahomes in openers?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see his numbers in openers?
Yeah, they're absurd. Hasn't he never thrown a pick in September?
He has not thrown an interception in an opener. I can't speak to September. That seems probably right, too. But the average is like 330, 4 touchdowns, no picks over his 5 openers. So he's always very good. That one is tomorrow night. Hard Knocks came and went. Episode 5 last night. Did you guys check it out?
I did not watch last night's episode. No, I had a little fantasy draft I was doing.
Did you, Gibby? You had a lot going on, I know.
I caught some bits and pieces on the social this morning.
Yeah, it's quarterback Aaron Rodgers is what it was. It finished that way. It was all 5 episodes. It was all Rodgers. He told a story about some buddy of his at Cal who they saw a UFO together. Like, you'll never have another instance like this where you'll have this type of access to a star. I mean, like to have in training camp with a new team. You'll never see this again. I mean, you think about like what our Hard Knocks was compared to this, or even any of the more recent ones. You've never had this type of access. He's mic'd up. He lights them up at practice because they're not running the right routes. On a couple of the guys aren't running the right routes.
Cobb told him. He said he's going to get mad,
and he did. He lit him up several times, and then at one point he pulls over Garrett Wilson. He's like, "Just do this." And he hit him like 5 straight times in stride, big runs, just Wilson. Just essentially to prove, like, I know where the holes are, and now I'm just going to do it on my own out of structure because I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
Now, I would say this. Like, we're saying we're never going to see it again. If Hard Knocks would like to stay as relevant as they've been maybe in the last 10 years,
you got to.
They would continue to try to find a way to feature a quarterback of some ilk.
Well, but Gibbe, as you know, that's really not their choice.
No, it's up to the team.
It's up to the teams. The teams give them who they want. So, like, we can say it now. It's a different regime.
But, I mean,
we misled them.
There's that Netflix show.
Like, it's not. Right. We had them following people that were irrelevant. Like,
boy, did we.
Whereas, like, they got Rodgers. Like, the 2 stars were Rodgers and Saleh. Mostly Rodgers, a little bit Saleh.
Yeah.
That's the way that it worked, and that's the way that it played out last night. I bought it hook, line, and sinker, by the way.
Agreed.
I'm
in on them. Yeah.
All in.
Yeah.
Buy them on, whatever the wins. Will we do over-unders? Maybe we'll do that tomorrow on the NFL teams.
We
some
got
win
to
totals.
at some
Probably
point.
we got to get some predictions and those type of things.
Yeah,
Got to
we'll
get that
have
in
some
at some
fun
point.
here.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to like him, and it's hard not to imagine Garrett Wilson being a monster for Rodgers this year. Rodgers very confident in where he's at. Speaking of Hard Knocks, one of the stars of Hard Knocks when we had it here was Carl Nassib. He announced his retirement today. There you go.
Yeah, broke some barriers.
He did.
He's a good player.
I don't
his
know
best
about
year
it.
with Tampa. I think he had 6 sacks.
It's right after
we let him go.
We let him go. I don't know about a savings account netting you 10%.
It'd be nice.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
Usually not quite that number.
Not even half that.
No, not the way that works.
No.
The Cardinals are having an interesting week. They are listing Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune. I don't even know Clayton Tune as the starter on their projected Week 1 depth chart. They also named Kyler Murray captain.
I don't know what they're doing there.
I think they're trying to make it seem like he's valuable.
We watched their coach in the commercial break yesterday try to piece that together. I'm not sure what's going on.
No.
I think they're trying to create I think they're trying to create a market for Kyler Murray.
They should.
Is what I think they're doing. And I don't – well, let's just pretend that he likes Murray.
Okay.
And they are terrible this year anyway. Let's say they like Murray, and they're like, actually, which even financially you would never do it because you'd rather have Caleb Williams for 5 years at controllable than this Kyler Murray that they just gave the extension. But let's just say you loved Murray,
okay. All right.
and you were picking first and second. What are those draft picks worth if you traded them? And it's Caleb Williams.
A ton.
5 ones?
Whatever the max you can get.
Whatever the max you can get would be. And maybe players and twos and pick. It's crazy. And so they could do that game twice if they wanted to, and just get picks everywhere.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, I don't know what
I would
doing.
think they would punt.
This isn't like a college game where you list dual starters. Like, oh my God, they got to prepare for our guy Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. Like that's gonna keep them up at night. I don't understand.
They play Washington.
Yeah,
Commanders are brutal.
Commanders are going to feast.
Yeah, that's a brutal Week 1. But yeah, I don't see any. Clearly, yeah, you got going on there.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
Playing like,
what
was the kid the cartoon where the kid played were they otters, like Emmett Otter, and they played a little tambourine or something like that,
or a banjo. I don't know.
Maybe a banjo.
It feels like a little bit like a ukulele.
What are you even talking?
No,
about?
there is.
That I don't know.
Are you talking about a cartoon?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
I have never heard.
You guys
of this
got nothing on this?
Ever?
Nothing.
No.
Zero. Zilp. Zilch. Nada. Not a thing. Never seen them before in my life.
Really?
Never.
Oh my gosh. I always thought it sucked when I was a kid, but I definitely remember it.
They look like those the random dudes that used
Is that
to
a
be at
Montana
Chuck E. Cheese
special?
playing
I think they were known.
I don't know about that.
I guess we'll find out. If you guys don't know, maybe it was just something they showed.
And
there.
you're in the middle of us, so
it was
didn't
a quick.
make it.
All I had to type in was Emmett Otter, and the rest they knew Jug Band whatever. So that's I don't know. It's all there for you, kids. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I'm glad that I was able to spawn that memory for you.
Oh, you're playing a little Jug Band there.
Yeah,
a little bit of that.
A little bit.
All right, who's ESPN's got Burrow? That's their thing.
Yeah, Burrow was their most valuable player.
All right, let's do ours right now.
We're doing it.
We're doing it right now.
Well, no, because we've got Charles Davis coming up here.
Well, but he's not.
We're breaking.
How long
in
is
2
this going to
minutes.
take? Yeah, but we can do MVP, Offensive Player of the Year in 2 minutes.
All right.
Can't we? Or do you want to do this tomorrow, over 15 minutes?
I got to bring the spreadsheet up. Yeah, I got to bring. We have a lot to go through.
Yeah, no. Because
but
it was fun last year to go back and realize how wrong. I was on some things.
I mean,
we do a lot. We have a lot of different
your MVP.
categories.
I had your Super Bowl winner. I mean, I went out on a limb with Mahomes and the Chiefs.
You did.
So.
CBD picks.
Okay, so we won't. We'll hold off.
Let's hold till tomorrow.
That's a 15-minuter. We got that tomorrow.
Yeah, I can tell
look
you
forward to. So tomorrow we'll have individual awards. We've got, and then we're gonna have to have division. We're gonna have to pick division champs. We're gonna have to pick playoffs.
We can do that. We can do part of it tomorrow. We can do part of it on Friday.
All right. So tomorrow we'll have individual awards. We'll probably. Do you want to do over/unders tomorrow? Win totals.
Yes, this is what we do.
You want to do that, or are we doing guess the?
Oh yeah, we got the other.
This is what we did last year. We predicted every division winner.
All right,
and then the wild cards in both conferences.
Yep.
We did NFC champ, AFC champ.
Okay.
Games like the matchups.
Mm-hmm.
We did Super Bowl champions. We then did the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. Wow, we both had Sirianni. Good for us.
How about that?
Look at us. Gibbs had Josh McDaniels.
Less good.
Not as good. Hot seat. I had McCarthy. You had Rule. He had Cliff. So that was good.
Go.
2 out of 3. You got a win there. We got one there.
Playoff surprise. Gibbe had Minnesota. Gibbe take a bow.
13-4.
You had the Jags. And I had the Lions, who it feels like made the playoffs, even though they did not.
People think they did, I think.
It feels like
they beat
did.
Green Bay. People think that.
Feels
So we did
like
good
they
on
did.
that one, too.
Busts.
We did pretty good.
Tennessee. Gibbe had Arizona, although I don't know if there was ever a lot
I had
expected
Cliff
of
getting
them.
fired and Arizona
sucking.
I had New England as a bust. Bo, Niners is a bust.
Really?
That feels like Gibbe's hate. That doesn't, feel like that would come from you.
Them as a bust. I could see me like thinking the Trey Lance thing wasn't going to work and that they wouldn't. But
You still had them in the wild
I had them in the
card.
playoffs, so that doesn't make sense. So it's relative bust. That's not a huge
Relative bust. Right.
Yeah.
So so that's all stuff that we got there.
All right. So we got a lot to do tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, and we got over-unders. We got, guess the lines.
There's a lot going on.
We have a lot.
We got a lot going on. Meantime, we have a lot going on coming up next. Our good buddy Charles Davis is going to join us. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Join Z and Gerard Cherry Thursday night, 7 to 8 at Brew Garden on Begley Road in Middleburg Heights for the regular season debut of the Kevin Stefanski Show. Stop by, meet Browns quarterback Greg Newsome. Enjoy great specials from Bud Light as well. As we head out on the hotline, the Twisted Tea hotline, visit with our great friend Charles Davis of CBS. He will be on the call this weekend for the Battle of Ohio. Charles, as you're getting into your homework on this, and we've been dealing with kind of talking about this a little bit throughout the week, is this Browns roster undervalued nationally?
I used to think so. First of all, hello, guys. It's good to talk with you again.
Great to be with you.
You're great, and I imagine the answer is yes, because it's almost time for that ball to be put on a tee and kicked off, all right?
That's right.
And by the way, we better cherish all these kickoffs we see, because the way things are going, we might not see them in the not-too-distant future.
You're right.
I'm hoping I'm wrong, but, boy, that momentum certainly seems to be swinging. But anyway, off my soapbox. I used to think it was undervalued, but I don't anymore. You know that old expression, how can you be underrated when everyone calls you underrated? I feel like that's what's happened with the Browns. I feel like as the offseason kept progressing, every time I heard someone talk, and it's not a lament, it just became a reality. I'd hear people in different markets, depending on where I traveled. I'd hear people doing national shows. You know, the question was always inevitably at some point, so who do you think's going to be a surprise team this year? Who do you think's better than what people are talking about? The Browns came up more and more and more and more. Caveats? Absolutely. History, of course, since the heydays. Deshaun Watson, can he get back to 2020 form?
Yep.
But all I kept hearing was, this is the best roster I've seen the Browns have in a while. And they like the people leading it. They like the management in place. I really think it comes down to the quarterback. And, sounds stupid, right? Because we say that about every team. But in this case, with the investment made, he's got to pay that off.
I think you're right. I think that, in some ways the question stems from the fact that we see a lot of power rankings that have the Browns as like the 22nd, 23rd team in the NFL, and I find that hard with our roster. But this is a team that's going to have to prove it. And what we've talked about is this is a team that's got to go out there, and do it. And it's going to start with, obviously, offensively, Deshaun Watson, but I'll flip to the other side. It's a remade defense. We have 27 guys on this roster on defense. 15 of them are new, especially in the defensive line. 7 new guys on the defensive line, 3 of the starters. What do you think of that remake and then the addition of Jim Schwartz to this defense?
Yeah, I really think that because Jim Schwartz took over the defense, it gained a bump in terms of how it was viewed. And your point is so well taken. Like if you take Jim Schwartz's name off of the deal and you don't know who the coordinator is, the person's new, and then you just look at the remake of the roster, you say to yourself, interesting. But the other part is, okay, who's there that we can count on? Well, Myles Garrett is there. Okay, that's a great starting block. Who'd you introduce as new? Well, Dalvin Tomlinson and Zadarius Smith up front. Oh, Shelby Harris comes in later on. Whoa, okay. Starting to really like what I'm seeing here. Get to the back of the defense. Denzel Ward. MJ Emerson played really well as a rookie. You're getting Juan Thornhill from Kansas City. Greg Newsome continues to go out and play, right? You get Grant Delpit, who I really love coming out of college. The big thing was him being healthy. Last year, over 100 tackles. Here he is. To me, the biggest question mark in so many ways is not in terms of talent, but in terms of health. Linebackers.
Yep.
Owusu-Koramoah, Walker, Taki. Can they all come back and go? Because we didn't really see it in the preseason. And let's face it, Walker and Taki are coming back off of injuries that you're like, okay, can you move and run? Because if you can, we really like it. If you can't, that's going to be an issue.
Charles, one of the last year when we did the team workouts with Philly, we were really bullied up front, and then this year we returned and did the exercise over in Philly and kind of repeated ourselves. And one of the things that changed dramatically from our perspective was, it's most especially noticeably up front. Myles is a game wrecker. We know that. Charles, he's never played with anything like this. Not Dalvin Tomlinson, not Obo Okoronkwo, not Zadarius Smith opposite. This is a defensive line that we tend to think could hang with most in the league. Where do you stand on the guys who are going to be running with Myles up front?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. And where I'm really more convinced about him is not just the frontline guys. Tomlinson's been a proven guy since he's gotten into the league. He played well from day one in New York. Shelby Harris is a guy that you get, and you're like, we got Shelby Harris? You know, I mean, that's a big get, right? That's a really good player. Zadarius Smith, we know about his sack totals when he's fully healthy. We get all of that. Where I'm convinced on them is the depth. Getting Ika in the draft who can move in and play, you know, at defensive tackle. Jordan Elliott, who you drafted previously. Alex Wright, who's been on the roster previously. I liked Isaiah McGuire coming out of Missouri. So I think as over time, as he gets a chance to work in, and then Okoronkwo, the one thing about him that I want to see is the consistency, game in, game out. He has impact and makes plays. I'm reading these things. I'm going to sit here and tell you straight up. I'm reading all this stuff in the offseason. He's the fastest get off. He's the fastest guy to the quarterback. He does this. He does that. It's 3.5 sacks. I need more.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I mean, for everything I'm reading him like he's a Pro Bowl player. He's not been a Pro Bowl player. He's a part-time guy who gets to the quarterback when he has an opportunity, who's fast and all of that. I want to see more. And I'm not saying that it's not there, but it's been interesting in reading it. I'm not saying coming from Cleveland. I'm talking about around the league when you start reading the analytics and you're reading this and you're reading that. I'm a little bit on the older side. I love analytics, but you're telling me this guy's an all-star and his most has been 4.5 sacks. I got to see more.
Yeah, and for him, I'd say from the standpoint of that would be he only started, I think in his last 7 games last year, he had 5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and that was the only time he really started in his career. But you're counting on that coming forward.
Yeah,
I hear you, for sure.
And he's on the rise. He's
Hopefully.
on to this, he's on to that.
Yeah.
I get that. We'll see it.
You're right.
But he's had opportunities to be a frontline guy before, didn't get it until now.
Yep.
Now, but here's the thing. Now you can actually spot him. And if he's like those good DHs in baseball and he makes the most of his opportunities, he could very well press for double-digit sacks.
Agreed. He's going to get nothing but single coverage. He's going to get nothing but one-on-ones against the tackle coming off the edge. Every pass rush snap he gets will be a one-on-one. Talk with the great Charles Davis.
Let's make it simple. Hey, real quick, let's make it simple. If he gets a second blocker out there, that means someone made a mistake on the offensive line.
That's right. They went the wrong way.
That means someone went the wrong way, and then someone else has turned loose. And I'm not saying it to denigrate him at all. It's just exactly what you said. With the other guys, you better have some extra people for them.
When you went through this game in your preparations, and I was just doing it for me, earlier today. You and I talked earlier today.
Yeah.
This Bengals offense loaded. You get it. Turn it over to the defense, and you're like, you like that starter. The starters on the defensive line, they've got some good depth on the defensive line, especially on the interior. The starting linebackers are very good. And then I got to the safety, and I kind of to the secondary. I'm sorry, and I kind of didn't believe my eyes. There's not a lot of depth. There's a lot of potential risk here with this secondary. What do you think of this remade Bengals secondary, and what it's going to be week 1 versus obviously what I think they hope it'll be by, November, December when it's winning time for them?
Yeah, it's almost like when you have a proven coach taking over a team that has a few question marks. What's the old expression we have always used with that? Well, you better get him early.
Yeah.
Before he settles in, right?
Yep.
I feel the same way about the back end of the Bengals, especially at the safety position, because Lou Anarumo, who's as good a coordinator as there is in the league, and he's one of the guys that I've been championing to be a head coach, and that's not anything new. But because of the way he commands a room, presence, all of that, that's what I believe makes a better head coach than a guy who can go up and draw for just great ball plays. But that's just me. But he got so used to what they call unconscious competence in the back end that Jesse Bates and Von Bell knew what the other was doing by just a look.
Right.
And sometimes they didn't even have to look at each other. They shared a mind. They knew it. You can liken them to a double play combination, that shortstop and second baseman who know where each other's going to be, and it's just flip it to the right spot because you know where he needs to get it and all those things. When you develop that back there, you're good. Lou's had it. Bates and Bell. He doesn't have it right now. That still has to be developed between Dax Hill and Nick Scott. And Nick Scott's a one-year starter in this league. So that has to develop over time because it's Lou Anarumo, because it's the Bengals, because of the talent of those guys. Dax Hill's a first-round pick. I expect it to develop. I'm very eager to watch on Sunday how it develops in week 1, week 2, week 3, right? Because they have to go through some stuff because they didn't play a heck of a lot in preseason. You know, they did the practices, they did all the stuff, but now it's real. Now it's live. Will they make any mistakes on the back end that people can take advantage of early? And will Lou Anarumo make any adjustments with what he wants to call to account for that early until he feels a little more confident that they have it? That could be a storyline as we get into the game. I think they're improved on the corner. It'll be interesting to me to see how Awuzie plays right out of the gate coming off the ACL. But Cam Taylor-Britt is a major upgrade over Eli Apple. Major upgrade.
Yep.
And got to play a lot last year. So I have zero worries about him. I have more worries about Awuzie just getting his feet underneath him and going full speed early. Now, by the middle of the season, we'll probably see the old Awuzie again.
Right.
But out of the gate early, we'll see. And we'll see how it goes there, and we'll see what the Browns have for him then.
Yeah, because it was in Cleveland that he tore his ACL on that Halloween game that the Browns won 32-13.
Halloween night.
Halloween night, that's right. It's good for the Browns, not as good for the Bengals. Two guys that I know you're so plugged in the draft, and I was trying to get, in my prep for this, look up anything about the first and second round picks of the Bengals, and you don't hear a lot of talk about them. DJ Turner, the corner out of Michigan, and then Miles Murphy out of Clemson. Are you expecting them to have roles early in the season, or what have you kind of heard about them?
Yeah, I do expect him to have roles. I'll start with Miles Murphy. I think his role might have expanded because of the injury to Joseph Ossai, the defensive end who has a high ankle sprain, and he's day-to-day right now. And if he's not able to go, then I expect him to get Miles Murphy go and get his feet wet. The beauty of them being able to draft him is they knew they didn't draft him to be a frontline guy right away. Not with Hendrickson, not with Sam Hubbard.
Sure.
But they got a great D-line coach in Marion Hobby who can bring him along. And then DJ Turner, same thing. They did not draft him to be a starter right away. They drafted him to fill in, and he was kind of an insurance policy if Awuzie couldn't make it back from the ACL. He's a smaller size outside corner who looks like he should be playing nickel, but to get him going right away and get him on the field, you keep him at outside because you're covered at nickel with Mike Hilton and the underrated Jalen Davis if you're Cincinnati. But he can fly. Ran 4.26 in the 40 at the Combine. Does that make you a great player? No. John Ross ran 4.22 and never developed as a player at all. Okay? Remember when Cincinnati took him? So being fast doesn't mean everything, but this kid has the potential to be a very good player for them, and I expect him to play some early.
Charles, big picture, how do you kind of have the pecking order in the North as we kick this thing off on Sunday?
One major league fist fight. This is as good as you're going to get. Look, last year we went into the season, all we screamed about was AFC West because Russell Wilson landed there and it's the quarterbacks and boy, oh boy, right? This year I think coming into the season we're screaming about the AFC East because Aaron Rodgers landed there. And then you got Josh Allen, you got Tua, you got him, New England being New England. There's a lot of attention there. This is one major league fist fight division. I've seen a number of people that I respect that have Pittsburgh fourth in the division, and they've never finished fourth since the thing is broken down in 2002, the new divisional alignment. A lot of people are counting on Cleveland to be in that fight. I think that they will be as well. I'd be surprised if they're not. I don't think you rule anyone out in this division. I think you can make a case for everyone in the division to be in the playoffs, but it starts with Cincinnati. It's hard to get away from them being the division champs 2 times in a row and being as strong as they are. I think that they set the pace, but that doesn't mean the other people aren't going to join in because Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, eager for the fight, and I think good enough that all 4 could be considered playoff contenders.
It feels like it.
That's the way, yes.
Yeah, you're going to get it right away because you're going to get this one that you're going to be on the call of. And of
how
course,
many divisional games?
Oh, it's crazy. We're at Pittsburgh
it's all
next
divisional
week.
games right out of the start, right?
Yeah,
For
3 out of the first
teams.
4.
Bengals and Baltimore next week.
With it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to kick this off.
It's going to be fun to see.
It is. It really is, man. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, always. Thanks a lot, guys. Always good to talk with you. Can't wait to see you on Sunday.
Charles Davis, one of the best in the
CD,
business. And
the man.
He's the one of all of the people that we have on the boys get most excited about because of Madden.
Yeah.
Dad, you talked to the guy from Madden? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I do.
That's right. We do. Could not have happened to a better guy. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Lots going on tomorrow. Big predictions across the board.
Dude,
that's a monster program.
We're tomorrow and Friday. We are
Friday,
flying
we're
into this weekend.
Yeah, it really is. Lots to get to, man.
Yeah,
we did okay last year, man. On the big.
You want the final tally?
No. I know we did well on the scores, but we've done well in the. That'll stop at some point, but
there will be a year where we're not great.
It has to. I mean, you can't do it well for
can't
6
like
seasons
this will be
in a
the
row.
year when we explained it to the gentleman yesterday.
Yeah,
Right.
probably. That might have done it.
I understand it now.
That might have been the jinx of it all.
That could have been the jinx.
That would all make sense.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to start off 1-0 on Thursday, though.
I feel like that's a lock.
It's a lock.
For the real people, yeah. You know how that goes.
Yeah, the believers.
What did we end up last year on the do you have that in
For
terms
the
of like
total?
the no, like the big picture stuff, like the MVP, the Super Bowl and all of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do we have?
Hold please. Let me go back to week 1. All right. We had AFC West winners, Kansas City. The North, Cincy. The South, Indy. Yikes. East, Buffalo. So we got 3 of the 4, right?
Yeah, that was good.
NFC, I had the Niners. You both had the Rams. For shame on both of you.
Sad.
North, we all had Green Bay. They did not make the playoffs.
That's true.
South, we had Tampa. That's right.
Yeah. They
Tom
did.
Brady
They
was
went 8-9.
still there.
They went 8-9, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the East, we all had Philly. We got that right. Wild cards, I had Minnesota, the Saints, and the Rams. Nope. You had, other than the Vikings, you had Minnesota, the Niners, but you had the Rams winning the division in New Orleans. So we actually had the same playoff team, but so we got 5 out of 7, I think. And then Gibbe didn't give a wild card, or at least
90.
AFC, we had the Browns, the Chargers, and the Broncos. Both of us, you and I, both had Browns, Chargers, Broncos as the wild cards.
Sad.
So we got the Chargers, right? NFC Championship, I had Niners, Philly.
Got it.
You had Green Bay, Tampa Bay. Gibbe had Tampa Bay. I had Chargers, Buffalo in the AFC Championship. You had KC, Cincy, nailed it. You had KC as the Super Bowl champ, nailed it. You had Mahomes as the MVP, nailed it. I had Herbert. Gibbe also nailed that. We talked about Sirianni. We got Offensive Player of the Year. I had Jefferson. You had Chase. You had Chubb. He had Chase. Did Jefferson win that? Who won Offensive Player of the Year last
Did
year?
Jefferson win it last year?
I think he did.
think he did.
Jefferson did.
Yeah, he did.
He was like third in MVP voting.
Yeah, he was a monster.
Jay Jetta.
There you go. All right, so we did a nice job then. So
Yeah,
we'll try to duplicate that.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull out another Josh McDaniels. That'll be great.
Be very good. You have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.